What is up, my sweet and spicy, sexy ass Shaddoll Genesys duelists? I hope y'all are having a phenomenal day. I know I am. Save for some terrible news. I'm sure I'm not the first to break this to you. I'm sure y'all have already seen like MBT, Peeps, Dugsy, whoever else is YouTube videos. We have some tragically heartbreaking news in the Shaddoll Genesys community. As y'all can see, our boys Lev Shaddoll Fusion and Void Unleashing both have 10 points. So what does this mean for the deck, right? Well, if you take a look here in my extra deck, you'll see we no longer have Winda, right? However, I know I said Winda is the best card in the deck, and I still do think Winda is the best card in the deck. Hey y'all, future Crazy Pastry here. The point I was trying to make about Winda is, yes, while it is the single best card in the deck, that does not make it the end-all be-all of the deck, right? Especially in a lower power format like Genesys, I think the deck has a lot of play and a lot of game into the current landscape without Winda, right? Like I said in the last video, I believe, there are so many games where it did not even get to the point that I had to summon Winda. I would end the game strictly based off of Windy Kuru, Hollow, and then maybe a Schism removal, right? And then if through all of that my opponent was still able to play, I would then El Shaddoll Fusion for Winda. Now you can El Shaddoll Fusion for maybe a Grista if you have a Shaddoll name in hand to be able to have more game into your opponent's boards, right? The point is, you don't need Winda. Winda is the best card. It is not the only card in the deck, right? There's plenty of other really good cards you can still play. Okay, future CDP out once more. So I've now built this new variant of Shaddolls, and I have 4 other variants that I'm going to be, talking y'all through, right? So I'm not going to talk about like each specific card as we go along. I'm only going to talk about the changes that I've made, right? If y'all want to figure out why I'm playing certain cards, do me a favor, check out the previous Shaddoll Genesys primer on my channel. It was posted, I think, last week or the week before last, right? All that having been said, let's go ahead and hop into it. So y'all will see the changes that I have made. Off rip, we have 3 DD Crow in the main deck, right? So why are we playing 3 DD Crow? Well, I tragically have not been able to make it out to locals at all since the last video I posted to play Genesys, right? So the only games of Genesys I've played are against my buddy Ben and watching mostly. I've been watching a ton of Genesys, right? That's the one thing I got going for me right now. And one thing I have noticed, y'all let me know if y'all have noticed it. One thing I have noticed is that the Constellar deck is like batshit crazy. Like it's really stupid good, right? They can artifact Mjolnir lock you. I'm not sure how popular that's going to be at NAWCQ, but the fact that they are able to do that is like disgusting. It's gross. So for that reason, we got 3 DD Crow in the main. If you get Mjolnir locked, your turn is over, right? And Crow is also very good against a wide variety of the meta, right? So I think Crow in the main is solid enough. It's only 1 point, right? Which is the reason it's seeing play in this particular list. Next change. Y'all will see we have Mathematician at 3 now instead of 2. Why do we have it at 3 instead of 2? The answer to that's pretty straightforward. We lost one of our consistency cards, so how do we make up for it? We add in another consistency card. You want 6 to 8 1-card starters, and you want 6 ways to like get to your main combo, right? Third change. We're on 1 Cartesia instead of 2. Reason being, while I do think I prefer 2 Cartesia and 2 Fusion Deployment, tragically Cartesia is worth 3 points, and y'all will see we have a variety more pointed cards in this particular list, right? So I figured we can cut down Cartesia to 1, get the 3 points for the Crow, and then we can also slot these guys in. I'll talk about this in a second. But then we played the 3rd Fusion Deployment to keep the ways to access Cartesia at 4. The only downside now is that if you open Cartesia with any number of these, all the Fusion Deployments are going to be dead. Like, and that, it's a shame, it sucks, but like you have to make sacrifices when your deck gets pointed so viciously the way ours was, right? I think that's it for like monster deck changes. Now when we're looking at the spells, y'all already see I added the 1 Fusion Deployment. We're on 2 Chalice. So when I was like play testing with the deck, I kind of came to the realization that like you want a little bit more non-engine, right? And I think Chalice just being a pump for your guys worst case scenario, and 2 an effect negation that can be activated in the damage step is like really strong, right? I talked about this a little bit in the last video. I think Chalice is going to see a lot more play. As y'all can see, I have 2 in this list already. Why 2? Well, that's because we're also playing the 1 Pair Bear Scare, right? So this card is interesting. Shoutouts to MBT for putting this card on my radar. So your opponent can reveal 1 Pair Bear Scare in their hand or deck. And if they do, each player gains 2k. If they don't, destroy a monster card your opponent controls. This is non-targeting destruction. So that is really powerful, right? And if the card is sent from the field to the graveyard, add this card to your opponent's hand. You can only use the effect of Pair Bear Scare once per duel. You can only activate Pair Bear Scare once per turn. So the idea behind this effectively is you activate the Pair Bear Scare, give it to your opponent, pop a monster your opponent controls if they don't have a copy, give it to your opponent activates it on you, maybe they get to pop one of your guys. That's why there's like an argument to play 2 of this maybe instead of just 1. The real main reason I'm playing it at 1 copy is specifically so I don't get got by people who are playing Pair Bear Scare. Again, I haven't been to locals recently. I don't know if this is caught on as a meta trend or not. If it were me, I would want to play 1 copy minimum in my deck, not to draw, but to reveal to my opponent to gain 2k and not get a non-target pop off on my guys, right? I think you play Pair Bear Scare at 1. I think until the format really develops and we really see what like top 32 at NATS looks like, I think you play this card at 1. I just think it makes sense, right? And that's the justification for having 2 Chalice, that, and we could only afford 2 because as you can see we are at exactly 100 points. Also, I definitely lied to you guys, there is 1 more monster change. Before, I was playing Mudora and Keldo. I have now decided to cut Keldo. The reason we're only playing 1 of the 2 is 1, they are kind of bricks, right? And we don't love that. And 2, again, we're at exactly 100 points. We could only afford 1 of these cards, right? And then the last change, you'll see we're on 3 Lev, but we're only on 2 Void Unleashing, right? I have seen a lot of people say it should be the other way around, right? 3 Void Unleashing, 2 Left Shaddoll Fusion. And maybe those people are correct. I could not tell you one way or the other. What I will say is that I generally feel more secure about my hand when I see Lev over me seeing Void Unleashing, right? Like Lev is a hard 1-card starter. Mathematician is a hard 1-card starter. Void Unleashing requires you to open a Shaddoll card, right? And don't get me wrong, we're playing a shit ton of them. We're playing 1, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 12, 13, 16, 19, 21. We're playing 21 Shaddoll cards, right? So just over, no, not just over, exactly half of our deck is Shaddoll, guys. So the chance of us opening 1 is like, I think 99-ish%, right? Here's the issue. You will find, no matter how like mathematically sound the reasoning is, you will always run into the situation where you open a Void Unleashing and you don't open any other Shaddoll cards, right? And in that 1 out of like, I don't know, 1,000 games, I'm not doing the exact math, I'm just guesstimating, 1 out of 100 games, let's say, right? Out of those 1 out of 100 games, if that happens to you at NATS, because you decided to play 3 Void and 2 Lev, you will be kicking yourself. Because a game that you could have won will have been lost, right? That is the whole reason I think Left Shaddoll Fusion is like the barest % better. Because you will. I'm not saying you maybe will, I'm saying you unequivocally will run into a situation where you open Void Unleashing and you don't open any Shaddoll guys, right? Like that's just a fact of life. That's just how it goes, right? So yeah, so we're only on 2 Void Unleashing. Why only 2? Because they're now 10 bloody points each, and we're at exactly 100 points, right? I'm gonna be saying this a lot. But that's it for the main deck changes, right? So now moving on to side deck, you'll see we still got the 3 Kaijus, we still got the 3 Skullmeister, we still got the 3 Interrupted, we still got the 3 Ultimate Slayer. What's different now is that we're on Cosmic Cyclone. Why Cosmic Cyclone over Twin Twister? This is in part to do with the Constellar deck. I believe they run Nova. From what I have seen, I think they have a way to recycle the alpha, right? So this is to banish the alpha away, so that way they can't recycle it. And two, unlike Twin Twister, this only costs life points. It does not cost a card to discard, right? It doesn't cost a card out of hand, which is super important for a deck like Shaddolls, right? It also means like if you're playing into Fissure, right, you can just freely activate this and not have to discard a card to banish instead of to the grave. So I like this a lot more. I just think it's good. It's also one of the reasons why I cut down on one of this. That freed up, what, like 5-ish points, right? So, like, not terrible. Extra deck looks almost exactly the same. Two big differences. One, we're playing Packbit. Why are we playing Packbit? To free up the 3 points that we got from Ecclesia. And Enigmaster Packbit does almost the same thing as Ecclesia. Not quite as much, but about the same thing. And realistically, if you resolve both Ultimate Slayer and Packbit, unless your hand is pretty bad, you should be able to just kill from that position, right? The other big change is we're on 2 App Cologne. So why 2 App Cologne, right? You only need the 1 App Cologne to have Left Shaddoll go off. So why 2? Well, the reason is twofold. One, we wanted a dark target in the extra deck for Schism after we used the Lev, right? And maybe you come into games where like you don't need the Lev and you still got full combo, and in that case you'll have 2 targets, whatever. But we still want 1 dark target in the extra deck for Schism and for Hollow, right? So if we're only playing 1 and we Left Shaddoll Fusion it away, suddenly we're very vulnerable to like a dark boss monster, let's say, right? I don't know what the dark monster could be, but like it makes our overall position a little bit worse, right? That having been said, I do think a lot of the best decks in the room right now are going to be like light attribute decks. So it's not necessarily the best extra deck slot. We'll talk about it more when we get to some later lists. But for right now, I like having 2 in the extra deck for this particular build. And I just think it's good. I just like having 2. Again, I really like the security of being able to Schism anything away or Hollow anything away, right? I talked about this a little bit in the last video, but my favorite part about Shaddolls is how flexible it is, which is weird considering how tight the deck space is. But I think in terms of play style, it is a very, very flexible deck, right? So this is the first build. This first build is good. Again, I haven't tested any of these, but in my like solo testing hands, it has worked pretty well. However, I did notice a couple of things. One, these 2 guys. They raised the ceiling of the deck a shit ton, but I'm not sure how much that matters when you're going second. I did notice in the number of games I played, oftentimes I would end up siding these guys out when I knew I would be playing second, right? So if you lose the die roll, these guys lose a healthy bit of their value, right? On top of that, there's not super questionable choices, right? But like, there's an argument to be made. You could maybe play 2 Shaddoll Fusion, 2 El Shaddoll Fusion. There's a definitive argument to be made that you should be playing more hand traps, right? So with that in mind, we're going to move on to the next list. So this is a heavier hand trap varietal, right? You'll notice we took out the 2 what's-its-faces, the 2 Infernoid cards, mainly because they lowered the consistency of the deck, right? And if we're going to have a lower consistency, what we're aiming for is stuff to do when we're going second, right? Because going second right now with the rank 4 slop Constellar nonsense deck running around, I think is a very disadvantageous position, right? So we took 2 of those out, and then we also cut an El Shaddoll Fusion and a Shaddoll Fusion, right? And we also cut 1 App Clone from the extra deck, and the 3 Cosmics specifically to make room for these guys right here, baby. I think Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit is decent. To be honest, this could be a number of other hand traps. I'm not sure which ones exactly, but like there's a world where you could maybe cut out the Slayers and play Bells in place of these. Well, you have to cut out these and maybe also like modulate your numbers on the Chalices and the Crows. So you'd have to like change the list around a healthy bit, but like there's maybe an argument to be made that Bell in combination with Crow is better than Crow in combination with Ogre. But again, I just like having more things to hit my opponent with. And a major benefit of Ghost Ogre in this particular deck is that it acts as a native light to access your construct. So in the situation where you don't open Fusion Deployment or Cartesia or Lev or Mathematician, but you do open like an Ogre and one of your 2 fusion spells right here, and any of your 13 Shaddolls, you have immediate access to your full combo, which is insane. It's very, very, very good. So for that reason, I decided to play Ghost Ogre. Again, realistically, this might be like other hand traps, right? And you'll see here, we were playing 3 Chalice instead of 2. We ended up finding the space for it, right? Cutting the Cosmics, cutting this gave us 13 points. So this eats 12, and the last Chalice eats a 13. And you'll see we're on 2 Twin Twister and 1 Shaddoll Fusion in the side. No El Shaddoll Fusion. I do like playing 3 El Shaddoll Fusion, but I think in the more hand trap oriented, the more heavy non-engine build, we're playing like 10 non-engine in this deck, which I think is arguably the correct number of non-engine you want to be playing in Genesys. Maybe not. Correct me down below if you think I'm wrong. But I think in a format like Genesys, we want like 10 non-engine, right? And in a format like Genesys, we're playing 10 non-engine. There's less of a necessity to open El Shaddoll Fusion, I would say. Plus, it's like incredibly accessible. I haven't shown y'all a combo video yet. Combo video coming soon with these new lists, hopefully. Maybe not in time for Nats though, so who knows. But El Shaddoll Fusion is stupid accessible thanks to Lev, thanks to Void, thanks to Mercer. Same with Shaddoll Fusion. So we're on 2 and 2. And in the sideboard, we have 2 Twin Twister and 1 Shaddoll Fusion. 2 Twin Twisters specifically because we needed room for the 1 Shaddoll Fusion, right? Like, I think even though Shaddoll Fusion is accessible, if you know you're going second, starting 3 Shaddoll Fusion is like crazy orgasmic. It is so unbelievably good. So yeah, I think besides that, the extra deck looks almost exactly the same. Only difference is since we've cut the 1 app clone, we're now playing the 1 Mercer, 1 extra Mercer, right? The extra Mercer is really good even if you never summon it, specifically because if your opponent's on like an Earth guy, you can flip summon Hollow, banish, send this to the graveyard to banish the Earth guy, then immediately trigger Mercer to like bring back a construct, right? And that just gets you more advantage, more plays, gives you more game a little bit into Earth decks. I don't know how popular Earth decks are in this particular format, but again, because the format is so wide, there is a high-ish likelihood that you will run into one of the NAWCQ, right? But that's it for this particular build. Pretty straightforward, pretty clean. I like it a healthy bit, right? However, there is one other hand trap build that I am a particular fan of, and it is this one. So you'll see here, we're back on these higher ceiling cards. I am still 50-50 on them in this list, especially since we're on Foolos, right? Well, let's talk about the changes before I really get into it. So instead of playing 3 Crow, we're on 3 Meister in the main, and we're on 3 Fua in the main, right? So Fua is a very expensive hand trap, but it's a very good way to just get an absurd amount of advantage from the opposing Constellar player, right? And it's just good against in a lot of matchups, right? And also, it is a wind, so it gives you more accessibility to hard make Wendy K going first, which can be very good, right? You'll see we got the Infernoids back in the deck. I was just talking about this. They do increase the ceiling, so in theory, I like them. I don't know how necessary they are. I didn't know what other cards I could sub these out for, right? Like, you see there's 1 Chalice here. There's an argument to be made that we could take both of these out, put in the 1 Chalice, be at 41, call it a day, 10 on engine, boom. Almost picture perfect, right? And I think there is a very real possibility that might end up being what I end up doing for this deck. That having been said, these cards do raise the ceiling a ton. I like this guy in the deck. I don't love him in the deck. If y'all have any like 0-point hand traps that are good to main, please let me know down in the comments below so I can sub this guy out. But at the moment, he's very solid going first. Going second, you always side these guys out for like a Shaddoll Fusion and maybe a Chalice, right? But yeah, that's about the only change in the main deck is we subbed out the Crows for these, and we subbed out the Ogres for these guys. How do we make room for the Ogres? Well, you'll see in our sideboard there's only 1 pointed card, and it's the 1 Chalice, right? You'll also see that we're now siding the El Shaddoll Fusion alongside the Shaddoll Fusion. This is mainly because, like, I just needed one more card to sub in, and I'm not sure what I wanted it to be. There is, again, a real argument to, like, just cut this, cut these two, move this to the main, and, like, side in 2 alphas for the 3 kaijus, right? But y'all will notice my boy, Ally of Justice Cycle Reader right here, right? So this is a very, very specific hate card targeted at Constellars. Specifically the Mjolnir build, but also when they like summon Altair, and I think they have a couple of other guys that can special summon out of the graveyard, right? So it's very good. It's a DD Crow specifically for lights, but it also hits up to 2 of them, right? Because it says up to, if there's only 1 light monster they're targeting, you can always just banish that one if they only have the one, right? So it's a little bit more versatile against the light decks, specifically just against the light decks, right? Against a deck like Shaddoll's, this is doing jack shit, which is why Skullmeister's in the main. I like this build. I think it's decent. Again, I'm not super sure how I feel about these, right? But yeah, it's pretty good. But you'll also notice we took out the Ultimate Slayers, right? So what are we playing in place of the Ultimate Slayers? Obviously the 3 Cycle Reader, and these 3 cards right here. But what else in the extra deck, right? So you'll notice I have doubled up on Anoyatilis and Gristas, specifically because if I'm playing against a fire deck or a water deck and I got like my ideal setup, I want to be able to Schism and Hollow 2 dudes away. You know what I mean? So I can like Hollow 1, send an Anoyatilis, add back like an Shaddoll Fusion or whatever. Then I can flip up the Schism if they have a way to extend, banish my Anoyatilis from the graveyard, and then summon the second Anoyatilis to then remove another monster on the side of the board. The reason we're doing it this way is just because we needed more Shaddoll guys, and there's no other good non-pointed cards to play in the extra deck that will work with the left Shaddoll Fusion, right? Entis is 7, Garura is 4, Void Evil, Infernoid Evil I think is maybe what it's called, is like 7. I guess, you know what, maybe some of the Fossil guys, hold on. This guy, right? So there's maybe like an argument to play 1 Fossil Machine Skullwagon, because you can banish it from your graveyard to target a spell trap on the field and destroy it, right? Kind of more niche, but like it could be good. It could be good. It never hurts to have that insurance in the graveyard, right? Especially if you're going second and your opponent has back row set up. Skull Knight. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 monster on the field, and destroy it. Oh, look at this. This is like a modified Ents. I do not hate this guy. And more importantly, you don't have to activate it as soon as it goes to... Yo, actually, I really like this guy. Okay. I completely forgot about this guy. Instead of playing 3 Mercer, we're going to play 2 Mercer and 1 Shekinah. So it leaves you with 3 Earths. Even though generally you only have 1 in the graveyard. Or 1 on the board, or in the extra deck. Maybe you'll have 2. If you're able to like super extend into getting the 2nd Mercer, you only have the Shekinah. Otherwise, you'll have 2. And that's... high key, that's more than enough, I think. So instead we're playing the Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. Again, this is just, if you've already done your whole combo without activating the left Shaddoll Fusion, you can just send this guy to have it in the graveyard as retaliation against your opponent. Or if you're going second, as a way to disrupt your opponent. But yeah, but we're still going to keep it at 2 Grista, 2 Anoyatilis, specifically because we want to be able to do the Schism and the Hollow play against whatever decks we come across. The only deck we won't be able to do that against are these dark decks, right? Even if we end up not using the App Clone for the Lev, we'll still only get 1 banish again with Hollow or 1 send with Schism if we're using App Clone for either of those 2. So like that's kind of the trade-off. It is tragic, right? But also with the way the cards have been pointed, it's kind of how we have to do it right now. This is what this list looks like. It's good. It's fine. I think Foolos is a house in this format. I think it's very, very, very good. Against most decks. Not all decks, but the vast majority of decks, this card is very good. And is it worth playing over like the Crow and Ogres? Maybe. I think it's definitely better than Ogre, but I also think Meister's kind of a little bit worse than Crow. So there's a trade-off there, you know what I mean? But that's it for this list. Now I have one more list to show y'all. And in this last list, y'all see her, y'all know her, y'all love her. My baby girl, Winda. That is right. We still have... I told y'all in the last video, right? Winda is the single best Shaddoll card right now. I hate to be that guy, but like it is just true, right? There's a reason Winda's at 60 points and all the other cards don't exceed 10 points per copy, right? It's because Winda is a batshit crazy insane card. While we're here, I'm just gonna do a little bit of live editing done, right? Boom, right here, ha ha ha. But yeah, so taking a look at this list, y'all can see it's very, very different from what y'all are used to, right? So off rip, we're playing Adlib and we're playing Aluber, right? We're also playing Tragedy and we're playing Dramaturge, right? We got 4 branded names in this deck. Or excuse me, Despia names in this deck. And we're also playing 2 Armageddon Knight. Why are we playing? We're playing 2 Armageddon Knight alongside 3 Mathematician because we're only on 1 left Shaddoll Fusion. Keep in mind, because Winda is 60 whole points, we can only play 1 Lev, 1 Void, 1 Schism, 1 App Clone, all of which I think are necessary to play the deck. If somebody's telling you otherwise, my 2 cents, they are just wrong. I think that is grossly incorrect if you're trying to play Winda, right? You need all 4 of these cards. They're all very, very, very good. So that's why we're playing 2 Armageddon Knight alongside 3 Mathematician and the 1 left to still have 6 ways to hard open left Shaddoll Fusion, right? Left Shaddoll Fusion. Alongside these 4 branded cards, or Despia cards rather, we are also playing 3 branded opening and the 1 branded theater, right? So I like branded opening a lot, specifically because the discard a card is not a cost, but it's a part of effect, meaning it triggers your Shaddoll names, right? That is also the reason we're playing 3 Squamata instead of 2 Squamata, because branded opening, discard Squamata, special Aluber, trigger Squamata 1, Aluber 2, Aluber to search theater, Squamata to send Grista, triggering Grista to banish this guy, and the Aluber to get you into Mercer, and then you have a Theater of the Branded to act as another fusion spell is like crazy high value. It is very, very, very strong, right? For those of you who don't know what this card does, because no one ever read this card ever in branded format proper because it just wasn't good. I played the shit out of this card when I was playing a heavier Despia Dolls build, right? But for those who don't know, during your main phase, you can fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as material. If a face-up non-fusion fairy monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, or is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use the effect of Despia Theater of the Branded once per turn. So what are the fairies that we are playing in this deck, right? Well, I don't know if y'all know this. These Despia boys right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, they are all fairies. Every single one of them is a fairy, right? We should probably also go over what these guys do, which I will in a second. But the idea here is that if you have any of these dudes on the board, and they get like run over or destroyed, I believe it says, right? If a non leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect or is destroyed by battle. So if they are removed in any way or just run over, you can then target the construct you probably have in your graveyard, the Shekinaga you might have in your graveyard, or the Anoyatilis that for some reason you have in your graveyard, and just straight up special summon them. Obviously, the best one to summon is Construct, maybe Shekinaga, depending on what your hand looks like. Usually it's going to be Construct. Construct will then let you send whatever Shaddoll name you want, obviously adjustable given the situation you're in. But it's just a good way to recur your resources and to keep up advantage, right? So I like this card a ton. There is a definitive argument to be made that maybe it shouldn't be in the list. It is, in fact, a brick. The only time you don't want to open this, you only ever want to search it off of the Aluber searching it, right? But I still think this card is very strong and is worth the consideration to play. Branded Opening also has a second effect. I didn't even read the first effect, so let me get through that. Discard a card, take 1 Despia monster from your deck, and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters. Oh no, we're only playing fusion monsters. And then it has a secondary effect in the graveyard. If a fusion monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This is not an activated effect. This happens on the resolution of the card attempting to destroy your monster. What does this mean? What it means is that you can side out your Pair Bear Scare if you don't want to keep it in your main deck, and then instead of having them destroy your Construct or your Mercer or your Shek, or they can't destroy Winda, or your App Clone or whatever fusion monster you have on the board, you can just banish the branded opening out of your graveyard and just stop it. It's not just obviously Pair Bear Scare, but that's like the most specific example that came to my mind because I think this card might be pretty popular in the format. I really like this card. I've always played this card at 3, and every time I played Despia Dolls, I'm not gonna lie, it feels like a more fun variant of Shaddolls. I don't know if that's true. There's a lot of nostalgia in this build for me, so I have a lot of love for this build. But yeah, continuing on. Aluber, I'm sure y'all know what he does. I think he's still played in Branded list, but just in case he isn't. If this card's no more special, add a Branded spell trap from your deck to your hand. If it hits a fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect while this is in the grave, target one effect monster your opponent controls, special summon this card, and if you do, negate that targeted monster's effect until the end of this turn. You can only use one effect of Aluber, Gesture of Despia effect per turn, only once that turn. So what does this do? So essentially the idea is you Branded opening. You send Squamata, or let's say you send Hedgehog. You send a Shaddoll name, summon Aluber, trigger that Shaddoll name. Aluber will get you Theater, you activate Theater, right? Now, assuming you didn't just do the play of like send Squamata, send Grista, banish the Aluber kind of either sticks around or gets used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard at some point during your combo, right? And if that is the case, what this means is that when they somehow like say that you have a Shekanaga, say they out the Shekanaga, you then summon back the Aluber, negate the effect of a guy, and then if they out the Aluber, your Theater will trigger, letting you resummon the Shekanaga or a construct, right? So it's just a very cute little loop of resources. I like it a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of nostalgia for me, right? Adlib, it has a main phase effect that's pretty okay. It's not really the important part. The important part's right here. If this card's in your hand, or field is used as fusion material instead of the graveyard or banished, target one of your Despia monsters or level 8 or higher fusion monsters that is benched or in your grave except Adlib, special summon it. This card is decent, right? During the main phase, you can make your guys gain attack and have them be bigger, maybe help you OTK a little bit, who knows. This effect is decent. It does let you recycle Construct, again, or Shekanaga, probably generally going to be Construct. But like this comes up in like a grindier game. It's less good. My 2 cents, it's a little bit less good, right? This was in fact the 4th target I threw in. It's still good enough to play at 1, but it is still the 4th target I threw in, right? Then we got Despian Tragedy. If this card's sent to the graveyard or banished by card effect, add one Despia monster from your deck to your hand, except Despian Tragedy. You can banish the card from your graveyard, target one brand spell trap in your graveyard, set it to your side of the field. So this card is very strong, right? The idea here is that you hard fuse it away off of like Shaddoll Fusion or El Shaddoll Fusion for either Mercer or Winda, right? And then you trigger the effect, and then you search. Almost always, you search Dramaturge. There might be a few situations where you search Aluber instead, very rarely, but you search Dramaturge, right? We'll get to him in just a second, but this is my favorite guy of the Despia guys. And then banish this card from your graveyard, target one brand spell trap in your graveyard, set it to your side of the field. So this is good, specifically because you can just add the Theater of the Branded back from the board, back from your graveyard to your side of the board if they happen to out it. It won't come up a ton, but it's not bad. Now let's talk about my boy Dramaturge. So if a fusion, synchro, exceeds, or link monster is special summoned during the damage step, except during the damage step, target one effect monster on the field, negate its effects until the end of the turn. So if your opponent uses their extra deck at all, you can target one effect monster on the board. Not even necessarily the card they just summoned. It'll often be that card, but it doesn't have to be. It can be any other card on the board and just negate its effects. That's already crazy. Second thing that's crazy, it has the 3000 attack. Well, why does that matter? This is an on-board effect, and the attack only matters if it's on board, but how are you going to get a level 8 monster on the board? Well, its second effect is, if this card in your hand or field is used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard or banished, you can special summon this card. So this is like the same clause as this, except instead of summoning a level 8 fusion, it summons itself back, right? So generally the idea with this guy is if you already have a fusion spell and you open Branded Opening, you activate Branded Opening, you punt this guy, you summon out Dramaturge, right? And then now Dramaturge is on your board in defense, and then you fuse Dramaturge and 1 to 2 Shaddoll names away for either Mercer or Winda, then trigger Dramaturge to summon itself, right? So what that has done in effect is it's either Winda locks your opponent plus you have an effect negation if they somehow manage to access the extra deck, or you now have Mercer to go full wombo combo, and you also have an additional effect negate on the board. This does, in effect, kind of take the place of the Infernoid guys. You'll notice we're not playing the Infernoid guys, and it's specifically because, like the Infernoid guys, this guy and this guy can kind of be bricks, but I think they're still worth playing. They're worth considering, right? But that's it for all the branded cards. We have 8 total. There's maybe an argument to reduce it to 7 by like cutting this guy or this guy, though I think this guy's way, way, way better. Having a 3k body on him is crazy. Oh, and the most important thing about him, you can, in the battle phase, after you swing with all your guys, you can always El Shaddoll fusion this guy away, assuming you haven't used the effect to summon him back this turn, and then just summon him back to get in for another 3k. So it really adds to like the OTK potential of this list, right? I think it's very, very strong. I like this list. I'm a fan of this list. 3 Skullmeister in the main. Obviously, you need something to kind of stop tellers. It doesn't really stop tellers, but it stops you from getting Mjolnir locked, which is enough, right? And then looking onto the sideboard, you'll see we still got the 3 Cycle Reader. We got the 3 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Because we're at 100 points, we couldn't afford any Chalices. So instead, we're just going full in on Twin Twisters and Alphas, right? The sideboard is fine. It is these 12 cards, or rather these 9 cards are very geared towards going second. This is matchup dependent. This is very matchup dependent. Extra deck looks almost the exact same. Only difference is that instead of playing, what was the other card we were playing? Oh, that's right. Because we're not playing Fusion Deployment. Because again, we don't have the points to summon Cartesia. So instead of playing Grand Guignol, we're playing the Winda. That's essentially it, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know which of these lists is the best. I am inclined to say I think this list is probably the worst. I love it maybe more than the other list because there's so much nostalgia tied to it for me. But if I'm being realistic, this list did brick more than the other lists in solo testing, right? And that is just because these Despia guys, while they do give you like a crazy amount of combo stuff you can do, they're all darks, and that makes it really awkward to work with them in terms of fusing for just Shaddoll guys, right? In terms of like what is the best list, I am inclined to say, man, I really do like this list. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna change it right now. I'm gonna toss this bad boy in here, and then we need room for one more sidecar. Let's just toss in an alpha. Who cares? If this is how the list looks, which I think from this point forward it will be. So y'all have seen me come to a realization that the Infernoid cards, while they really, really raise the ceiling of the deck, they are just kind of overall worse than non-engine. There's an argument to be made, like, if you could maybe cut the El Shaddoll fusion from here. There's like an argument to be made to like cut the Alpha, cut the El Shaddoll, put in the Decatron and the Deviati. But like I think that's really going in on like, oh, I'm going first now, right? Which also kind of means you expect to lose game 1, and you should never expect to lose game 1. Always going with the attitude of you're going to win every single game you play. That's the only way to do well at any event. If you lose a die roll and you're already like, oh, well, fuck, I lose. Like, what's even the point of playing? You know what I mean? Neither here nor there. Kind of a side tangent. Might leave it in, might not. But yeah, I think this list right here, the one that I'm showing you right now, I think this is arguably the best list in the deck, right? Or of the 4 lists I've shown you. The list I am currently going to be testing is this one, mainly because I like the higher ceiling. But as I have just admitted, I do think this list is slightly worse than the Foolos one. I'm also going to be trying this list because I really like having Cosmic in the side, and I really like having Applin in the side, and I really like having Ulti Slayer in the side. And let me just double check and make sure. Yeah, no Ulti Slayers in the side here, right? I do think this is maybe the best list. If not this one, then there's an argument to be made that it's this one. This one does just seem kind of a little cleaner than this one does. But I don't know, man. I don't know. This one has the Mudora. It has the Mathematicians. It has the Crows. Crow is like the only hand trap, right? So like we're on 3, 4, 5. We're on 5 non-engine in the main, 6 non-engine with Pair Bear Scare. Like that's the one thing I'm dubious about in this deck is you'll generally only open one piece of non-engine, and if you're going second, there's like a 50% chance out of that 66% chance that it's one of the 3 that does nothing going second. Well, not nothing, but is much worse going second, right? But the Crow is in here because I respect Constellars too much. The deck is just too good. You have to respect it. You have to be able to respect that deck in this format. But yes, I do think that it's probably one of these heavier hand trap builds. Hey guys, Future CDP here with one more list I thought of. This list, it's kind of, I don't know if it's good. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I don't even know if this list is good, but it's fun. It's a very fun list. I played a couple of test hands with it. It is very cool, right? So you can see the obvious difference here. We replaced the ad-lib with the second Aluber. That's just because I like a little bit more, neither here nor there. Here's the big thing, right? The Winda's gone. And in its place, we have the second App Cologne, the second Lev, the second Void. So that's an extra 30 points, right? Then we got these three right here, which is 33. We put the Ultimate Slayers back in, so we got this guy back in, and we got the Aggregator back in, right? So that's 37. Triple Chalice makes 40, right? With the Mudora, which is also now back in, we're at 42. We need the Mudora, that way we can recycle some of our one-ofs, right? But the big difference, as I'm sure y'all can already see, is we threw in the Heralds. So, the Heralds are just like crazy good hand traps. I'm sure y'all know this, right? But like, green light negates a spell if you punt it in another fairy. Orange light negates a monster effect and destroys it if you punt it in another fairy. Purple light, same thing, but with trap cards, right? So we're on 3 green light, 3 orange light, 1 purple light in the main, 1 purple light in the side. I did want to fit in a second purple light, but like just given deck space and sideboard space and stuff, this is kind of the best I could do. So obviously these are like pretty good, right? If y'all are counting, our total fairy count is actually 12 in a 43 card deck. Not quite as high as I would want it to be. Ideally, I'd want it to be like 15, but like I could not find anything else to cut. There's again like an argument we cut this guy down to 1, this guy down to 1. I think that's stupid. I think these are both necessary. Again, an argument to cut this guy down to 1, but that kind of defeats the purpose of the build, right? Because here what we're doing is while we have 1 less 1 card combo, right? We're only on 5 hard 1 card combos. What we do have is an exponential number more amount of 2 card combos, right? And I guess technically 3 card combos, because all the Heralds are lights, right? So that's throwing in 7 light guys into your Shaddoll deck. So all you need then is any one of your Heralds. You don't have to open it up with another fairy. You just need any one of your Heralds, any one of your, I think it's 12 dolls we're on. That's 7 and 5, yeah, 12. So one of your 7 Heralds, one of your 12 dolls, and one of your 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and one of your 10 ways to fuse, or get to a fusion spell, realistically, right? Which is kind of, I don't know if it's a tall ask or not, but like when I was testing with the deck, I made Construct pretty goddamn consistently. And like I've been saying, Construct is in and of itself another kind of starter, right? Not really a starter necessarily, but like this gets you to Mercer, which gets you the whole wombo combo of the deck, right? Construct is a MVP maybe. I would say this guy's the best player, but this guy's the most valued player, you know? So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of the deck. Sideboard looks the way it looks. I think we took out the Cycle Readers just because we couldn't fit them in, but I also figure if we're on 3 green light, 3 orange light, you don't necessarily need the Cycle Readers. Cycle Reader is an independently better card into Tellers, but like these are much more high impact, and you really only need to open one of these 2 along with any one of your other 12 fairies, right? Or I guess 11 fairies technically after you open that one. Neither here nor there, just wanted to really give y'all a quick rundown of the list. Y'all can see we got our boy Fossil Warrior Skull Knight still in here. Hashtag MVP, love this guy. But yeah, I think this might be the worst of the 5 lists I've shown you, but I also think it's the funniest and therefore the most fun of the list I've shown y'all. So if y'all just gonna go to NATS to have a good time, play this. I mean, this looks tight, dude. I love the Herald cards. I love them so much. I think they're so good. They definitely deserve to be pointed, so I'm glad they are. But yeah, so that's just it for this. Just wanted to give y'all a quick rundown of this. Let's all get back to the video. I think either this variant or this variant is the best, right? And like I said, realistically, these ogres could be like anything, right? It doesn't have to be an ogre. It just needs to be some hand trap that is either at 4 points, or maybe if you cut the Slayers or the Chalices, which I don't think you should cut Chalice, but if you cut like the Slayers, or maybe you cut the Cartesia and the Mudora and the Fusion Deployment Package, and you're like, actually, fuck those cards. You could play like 2 Bell and maybe take 1 Skullmeister out of the side, put it in the main, right? I don't know. It's up to y'all, but I think one of the 10 non-engine lists the list with 10 non-engine cards. I think one of those is arguably the best. But this is what I will be playing. I just like this more. I really like having 2 Apclone in my extra deck. Truly, that is the main motivation for me playing this variant. And I also just like this more. I really like having the Mudora and the Cartesia and the Ulti. I really like Ulti Slayer. I think Ulti Slayer is very, very, very good. Which is why I'm playing Ogre in the other list, because I think being able to play Ultimate Slayer, specifically for Constellars, is very strong. Hey guys, Future CDP popping in again towards the end of the video. This last part of the video is straight up just going to be how to prepare for not only the NAWCQ, but basically any tournament you're planning on going to, right? Whether that be locals, regionals, whatever. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the NAWCQ, but this advice could apply to anything, right? So, for every tournament I go to, I ask these my first question that I ask myself is, am I using this tournament to win, or am I using this tournament to practice? Because we're talking about the NAWCQ, we're going to talk about this in the confines of you're using this, you want to win the tournament, right? Theoretically, you want to win every tournament, but sometimes the goal you go in with is, it really determines how your overall performance goes, right? So we're going to talk about, if you're trying to win NAWCQ, what are the 5 questions you want to ask, especially as a Shaddoll player, right? So the first question is always, what are the first 3 rounds going to look like? The second question is always, what's the back half of the tournament going to look like? The third question is always, what is day 2 going to look like, right? This applies to like YCS level events. The fourth question is, what decks am I afraid of? And the fifth question that stems from that fourth question is, what can I do to solve my worst matchups, right? So we're going to take them all in order, right? So question 1, what is the first 3 to 4 rounds going to look like, right? So the biggest issue here is that Genesys is an incredibly wide format, and because of this new points list, the format once again is going to kind of change up a little bit, right? Maybe not quite as much as the last points update would make it change, but still a healthy bit, right? So you have to prepare for Rogue, right? You have to assume you might play meta, but there's a very, 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 very real chance you play against just like a quote-unquote rogue strategy in the format, right? Again, the format is so wide, it's kind of hard to define a rogue strategy, but effectively your deck has to be able to take on every deck in the format for the first 3 rounds, right? Then the back half of the rounds, right? That's where you kind of have to start expecting a little bit more meta, right? From match 4 and beyond, assuming you've gone 3-0, you're going to be starting to play against the better players in the tournament, right? Some of them will have just maybe gotten lucky, which, hey, good for them. If you're a good enough player, a lucky player shouldn't be able to beat you unless they, like, sack the ever-loving dog shit out of you, which, hey, welcome to card games, shit happens, right? So, if you're going to be playing against meta for the back 5 rounds of the tournament, even though you maybe are playing one Pair Bear Scare, for example, as a tech for rogue matchups, you still want the majority of your deck to be geared more towards meta, right? That's the reason we're playing the 3 Foolos in this variant. It's the reason we got the 3 Chalice in the main, right? Because Chalice is good against everything. Skullmeister seemingly is also good against everything, right? So you want your deck to be able to beat the meta, right? You want to build to be able to beat whatever the meta is at the moment in whatever format you are playing. So, the third question, the back half of the tournament in day 2, the answers will normally be similar, right? But not exactly the same. Back half of the tournament is like what is in the meta. Meta referring to tier 2 and above, right? Day 2 is much more tier 1 1.5 decks versus tier 2 decks, right? So the back half of the tournament you want to be able to play against tier 2 and above, but day 2 you want the deck to also be able to compete against all the tier 1 decks, right? So the methodology is relatively the same, right? Your deck needs to be able to play against every deck in the format. If that's how you build your deck, then question 2 and question 3 are effectively the same question. What is the meta? How can I play against the meta, right? So then moving on to question 4. What decks are you specifically afraid of? This should not come as a shock to anyone. I don't think Shaddoll's is particularly scared of any deck besides exactly shifter decks, defisher decks, and again getting Mjolnir locked, right? So because we're afraid of getting Mjolnir locked, in this build for example, we have the Meisters to stop it. We're not going to be able to stop the rest of their Wombo combo. And if they don't access Mjolnir, I think there's a card that summons itself from the grave or does something in the graveyard. I'm not exactly sure. But Meister can maybe stop that too, right? But this is here specifically to stop Mjolnir. And Foolos is in here, again, specifically because it hoses Constellar. If Constellar goes like full, like, lets you draw 3 or 4 cards even, your hand should be borderline unbeatable unless you started with Fua and 4 Shaddolls and then you draw 3 more Shaddolls, right? Which, them's the breaks, sometimes that happens. Technically you'd have to draw 4 more Shaddolls so that 8 of your 13 Shaddolls end up in your hand as your opener, which, like, if that happens, bad luck, sucks to suck, it is what it is. But generally, Foolos is enough to slow them down, right? And if they make a half board from that position, you should be able to just kill them outright, right? Shifter decks and fissure decks. Fissure decks is the reason we have Twin Twisters in here, right? Tragically, there's nothing you can really do about getting shifted, right? If your opponent shifters you, you have to play very defensively, right? It's the reason why El Shaddoll is good. It's the reason why Incarnation can be good. It's the reason why Schism is decent. It's the reason why Chalice is in here, right? These are the cards we are main decking. These two a little bit less. These two you have to open up in combination with like El Shaddoll Fusion or something like that. But the El Shaddoll Fusions, the Chalices, and the Pear Bear Scare are specifically for when you get shifted, right? You have to use these cards during your opponent's turn to have some game against them. You know what I mean? And then finally, the 5th question, which is an offshoot of the 4th question, which I've also kind of answered. What are the ways in which you beat those, right? Those cards. There is one other card that I did not mention because I don't know how popular the Shifter and Fissure decks will be. It is called Imperial Iron Wall. So, Imperial. This is an old school card. It's one of my favorite cards. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard of this card. Very simple, continuous trap card. Neither player can banish cards. It is an unsearchable 3-of, so you have to play this card at 3. But if you are really scared of Shifter and Fissure, this is another card you can play alongside Twin Twister to stop your opponent from gaining any ground, basically. You can do it during your turn, right? Because it is a trap card. It has to be set for a turn. That's kind of the downside. The upside is that it's continuous. It lasts forever. If your opponent activates Fissure, you just set El Shaddoll Fusion, set this guy, pass, activate this in draw phase, and then you're free to El Shaddoll Fusion and start wombo comboing during their turn. It's pretty sick. So that's kind of like the short segment on how do we win tournaments. That was a very short explanation. If y'all want a more detailed, in-depth explanation, let me know. I can make a whole separate video talking about like my philosophy going to tournaments. This is how I build for every tournament. It's how I build my sideboard for every tournament. This includes Edison format, hat format, redo, every format I've ever played in every card game ever. This is how I build my decks, right? Yeah, you have to build it to be able to deal with the rogue. You have to build it to be able to deal with meta. You have to be able to deal with tier 1. You have to be able to deal with your worst matchup, and you have to figure out what that worst matchup is. I've already given you that 4th question. What are your worst matchups? Shifter decks, Fissure decks, Teller decks, right? Everything else, I think you have a pretty good game against. And even the Teller decks, if they don't go into Rongo, and if they don't go into Mjolnir, I still think, unless they are heads up enough to be playing Constellar Knight, Satellar Diamond. It's an old rank 5. Let me see if I can actually find it right here. Here's the guy, rank 5, excuse me. Satellar Knight, Constellar Diamond, right? During your main phase 2, you can also summon this card by using a Teller Knight. Exceeds monster you controls material except Stellar Knight, Constellar Diamond. While this card has material, neither player can send cards from the deck to the graveyard, and any card that returns from the graveyard to the hand is banished instead. So this card specifically came out in the 2nd wave of Teller support for Tellers to be able to play against Shaddolls. It did not help much, but it is still very relevant. It shuts down your Shaddoll Fusion completely. It shuts down your Lev Shaddoll Fusion a little bit. This says deck, right? Destroy it. Your opponent can activate. Oh, that's Deltros. I was like, oh, what am I reading? Neither player can send cards from the deck to the graveyard. It does not specify extra deck, so it actually doesn't hose Lev Shaddoll. But it hoses Shaddoll Fusion, and maybe more importantly, it hoses the effects of your Shaddoll guys that return from the graveyard. The only one it doesn't hose is our boy Mercer, because our boy Mercer is kind of goated with the sauce. But yes, so if this card is on the board, you want a way to deal with this. Thankfully, we already have one in the form of Forbidden Chalice, right? So, the extra deck monsters we have answers to already in the main deck. You're welcome for that. Again, outside of those decks exactly, there's not really much you're afraid of. Maybe the Cosmic Neos pile. I don't know how popular that will be, but neither here nor there. I'm gonna have to cut this segment too, but this is just this is the last thing I want to talk about for anybody going to the NAWCQ that wants to play Shaddolls. That's just my personal advice. That's my 2 cents. Again, feel free to edit all of my list the way you want. These are here as resources for y'all to use and build off of. If y'all think there's more non-engine needed, by all means fiddle around with the ratios and play with it. Good luck to anybody going to NAWCQ. Future CDP, once again, out of here. Good luck, duelists. If y'all enjoyed the video, if y'all enjoyed the content, please leave a like or subscribe or a share or a comment or just show your friends as you're watching it with your Yu-Gi-Oh buddies, right? All of that and any of that helps. But again, like I said in the last video, I'm not making these to like get YouTube famous or whatever. I don't give two shits about that. I just really enjoy talking about Shaddolls. If y'all have any interest in advanced format Shaddolls, let me know and I'll build a couple of lists. I'll test them. But I really do like Genesys more right now. Not only because I think Shaddolls are better in Genesys, but just like the playstyle and how wide the format is, I really, really, really enjoy. But yeah, that's it from me. Hope you'll have a great day. Enjoy your lives. Enjoy playing this format and this game that we all love so much. And I will catch you, sweet and spicy and sexy and Shaddolly duelists, in the next one. Peace.